Donald Trump was busy getting our military in shape so he can finally fulfill our country's month-old dream of conquering Greenland. And first, we're going to need to have as many troops as possible.
President Trump has signed several executive orders to reshape the military, including directive banning transgender service members.
Okay, did I say as many troops? I mean fewer troops, right? You know what they say in the Army, less is more. Look, maybe they don't say that. I don't know, but that's... Look, I don't have a problem with transgender soldiers. As someone who pees himself anytime he hears a loud noise, I think we should be grateful to anyone who's willing to put their life on the line so I don't have to. But hey, yeah, okay. But I'm open-minded about being closed-minded, so what's the issue here?
President Trump signed an executive order calling transgender people unfit to serve.
One part says being transgender is, quote, not consistent with the humility and selflessness required of a service member.
Another says being trans conflicts with, quote, an honorable, truthful, and disciplined lifestyle, even in one's personal life.
Yeah, well, look, it makes sense that the military has to be honorable, truthful, and disciplined. Sure, this is your Secretary of Defense, but that's all the more reason that the rest of them have to have their shit together. It's like how every Beatles album had to be packed with hits to make up for that one song that Ringo wrote about wanting to f*** an octopus or whatever. I gotta say, the military sure has a lot of ethical rules for their mission of killing people. Hey, you want to blow some guy's head off? You better say please and thank you. But to be fair, Trump had another argument against trans soldiers as well.
They specifically cite readiness with transition surgeries. If you have a transition surgery, the recovery time and the narcotics that you have to be on as part of the process could affect your readiness for up to 12 months.
Oh, up to 12 months. Do you know how long our wars last? I think they'll have you back in the game in no time. Vietnam War, 11 years. Afghanistan War, 20 years. Even our storage wars last 15 seasons. First of all, transgender people make up 0.1% of the military. So, Commander-in-Chief, you're ruining the lives of people who are dedicated to serving America while doing nothing to affect the larger military. I don't see why a transition surgery should affect readiness more than any other surgery. Trump is acting like they're doing transition surgeries on the front lines. Medic! I need a medic over here. We got to get this guy a labia, stat! Also, what do you mean readiness? Modern war is just telling a drone to drop bombs. Pretty sure it doesn't matter what your sex is to go like this. That's how they drop bombs.
How are we treating our veterans?
Well, we were doing really well until Trump decided to fire 6,000 of them from their federal jobs in the last 3 months.
Yeah, and why do you do that?
Well, I guess this is a guy who hugs the flag, says he loves America, but then fires 6,000 veterans. I don't think he cares about us.
Yeah, so what did he give any reason for firing?
There is no reason. It's part of their cuts across federal government. Yeah. Veterans, after they serve in the military, tend to want to serve the country, continuing to. And
as civil servants.
As civil servants.
Right.
So 30% of the federal workforce are veterans. And so this president has fired more veterans than any other president in modern history.
Okay.
6,000 and counting.
And how is that? Okay, we get it. All right. They don't like it. And that's specifically, was it DOGE or was it something else?
It was DOGE's across the board cuts. When you fire this many federal employees, you're going to lose that many veterans. But DOGE has also come out and they've announced they want to cut 80,000 personnel just from the Department of Veterans Affairs. That's their next target.
But, okay, and I don't know. Are these people they can lose, or is it going to run fine? Is it running fine now? What's the situation in the Veterans Affairs?
It was getting better. We passed the PACT Act, which was bipartisan, which basically signed up 1 million more veterans who were exposed to cancer-causing toxic smoke from burn pits. They're finally getting the care that they need. And now we have those folks on board, and now they're going to fire all the people who take care of those folks.
Okay, and
So I'm pissed.
Okay, can anyone stop this? Or?
Well, we can try to stop them. We are fighting them every step of the way. In my case, I've been able to get some veterans their jobs back. They fired veterans from the Veterans Crisis Hotline. Right. These are people who answered the phone when a veteran is contemplating suicide.
Sure.
They pick up the phone and they get an answer within 8 seconds, or at least they used to. And so some of the folks who work in that hotline were fired, and they reached out to me, and we were able to get them their jobs back. Sure. So we are fighting back.
So, like one at a time. So there's
literally one at a time.
So there's jobs. There's jobs that were lost, but then there's overall just like veteran health care, right?
Yeah, they've had to cancel operations. The spouses, the family members of disabled veterans are not getting support through their hotline. Appointments are being canceled, or now they're having to wait even longer. We were just turning the corner. We were actually reducing the number of homeless veterans. We were just adding more veterans, getting more benefits. But remember, this is a president who says people who are wounded or died for this country in uniform are all losers and suckers. He doesn't care about us.
Okay, so just to put it out there, this is also a guy who arguably a lot of veterans would also vote for at the time. So how do you reconcile that? I mean...
Well, I think what they bought was this rhetoric from him that he was going to, he wants to make America great, strong, and powerful. And yet all he's done is made us weaker, sicker, and less secure.
Okay, so... Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the relevant question is, do you think it's changing the opinion of the people who voted for him?
Oh, definitely. Have you seen what's been happening at these Republican town halls, where people across the country are showing up in town halls and saying, what are you doing to our veterans? I'm a veteran. Why did you cut my benefits? I had a veteran reach out to me from Tennessee because he was declared dead and didn't get his regular checks.
Was he dead?
He didn't reach out to me through a Ouija board. Okay. He actually reached out to me.
But again, the question is, okay, so we all have, obviously, you know, we're kind of preaching to the choir here. Yeah. Obviously, the people who didn't want to vote for his president, still, we maintain that we shouldn't have voted for this guy. Yeah. What about, the question is, what about the veterans specifically? Because you're more in touch with that community.
Yeah.
Do you feel that there is a change in sentiment that was previously overwhelmingly in his favor? Do you think it's changing a bit, or is it still very much, no, he's doing the right thing, we don't see a problem, the issues are exaggerated? I mean, is that...
I think it's changing. I think there's two things that are happening. One, the fact that he is basically kissing Vladimir Putin's
you can
ring,
say it. Yeah.
You know, means that these are people who spent their entire military careers getting ready to oppose Russia. And now they see the commander-in-chief basically doing whatever Putin wants him to do. So that is changing the sentiment. The other thing that's happening is all of this rhetoric against women serving, against LGBTQ veterans serving. People forget that there's been a generational change within the military. Gen Xers are now the old people. Millennials are now the upper management, and they've only ever served.
And we're happy to be here. And now it's finally our turn to take charge.
They're now the field grade officers.
So sick of these Gen X people.
Yeah, I'm Gen X.
Oh yeah.
Okay. No, so millennials are now the majors, colonels.
Yeah.
They're now
they're colonels now?
They're now colonels.
Oh, way to go.
Yeah, right. They're now sergeants majors. You know, they're now higher ranking. And
you say this, but then it's like.
But
he kind of said what he was going to do before he ran. Pete Hegseth was Pete Hegseth before he got appointed against women in military. They still won. So my question is anything that's happened changing the sentiment?
It is, because I think a lot of them didn't believe that was what was going to happen. And they saw the reality of the fact that the military cannot do its job without women in service. The military cannot truly do its job without diversity in the force, where people can speak different languages around the world. You want soldiers who can speak Swahili without forces in Africa. You want soldiers that can speak all the different languages. And so the millennials have only ever been in the military where there was equal service with women and LGBTQ.
Were you saying that white people can't speak Swahili?
Well, you know. But you want native speakers, right? You want more diversity. You want that diversity and inclusion is a good thing. You want people who have those backgrounds. You want somebody like me who speaks Thai and Indonesian to be able to go in and speak those local languages. And we also have people in charge of the military now, the millennial generation, who have only ever served equally without don't ask, don't tell. So they know the lie behind, LGBTQ people are not good for the military. Well, no, they know that we've always served equally and we can't go to war without each other.
Okay.
At least we're finally getting to address, in a substantive manner, Trump's chaotic stewardship of what was the world's most stable economy, and how Americans are going to have to sacrifice financially and tamp down their consumerist impulse. And that is what has driven so much of our economy and I guess our waste. And I'm sure the president will use this interview with Welker to cheerlead the effort to a more financially responsible future for all of us.
We're going to have a big, beautiful parade.
A military parade?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We're going to celebrate our military. We have the greatest military in the world.
What's the price tag? Do you know?
People, peanuts compared to the value of doing it.
We can't afford not to do it! Why don't you believe in me? If you hadn't spent so much on dolls and pencils, we wouldn't even be talking about this. And see. But this is the brilliance of Trump. In the same interview where he says to Americans, sorry about your Christmas, suck it up, he talks about a $90 million parade that just so happens to fall on his birthday and is totally worth it.
We have the greatest missiles in the world. We have the greatest submarines in the world. We have the greatest army tanks in the world. We have the greatest weapons in the world. And we're going to celebrate it.
I don't know, Mr. President, if you know how submarines work. But dragging them down Pennsylvania Avenue will most likely void the warranty.
The U.S. military, the most powerful and respected organization in the entire world. Few have what it takes. The discipline, the strength, the bravery, the sacrifices made to serve our country. But according to the Trump White House, there's an enemy within.
Everything's transgender. Everybody transgender. That's all you hear about.
The Supreme Court will allow the Trump administration to begin enforcing a ban on transgender service members.
No more pronouns. No more dudes in dresses. We're done with that shit.
And I had some hard-hitting questions. So, as the Daily Show's senior war correspondent, only I had the guts to...
Paper cut!
Once recovered, I met with some transgender individuals to hear their unqualifications.
My name is Lieutenant Ray Timberlake. I'm in the United States Navy, and I've been serving for about 17 years.
My name is Clayton, and I've been trying to go for pararescue, PJ, in the Air Force, and it's a special warfare career field.
I'm Second Lieutenant Nicholas Talbot with the United States Army Reserve. I've been in for a little over a year.
I'm Joe Ellis. I'm a Chief Warrant Officer 2 in the Virginia Army National Guard. I've served for 15 years. I fly the UH-60, which is a Black Hawk.
I don't want to swap war stories, but I've flown Spirit Airlines twice, so I know danger.
They seem qualified to me, but there are others who think they're weakening our military.
They can't go to sea, they can't fly airplanes in combat, they can't deploy with the Army into combat areas.
We should never allow anyone in the military to undergo transition surgery, which would make them medically unqualified to deploy.
This idea that we spend years of being non-deployable is just simply untrue. I've never missed a deployment. I can fight tonight.
They've paid for nothing for my transition. I paid out of pocket because I wanted to be mission ready as fast as possible. In 6 weeks, I was deployable again, and I'm deployable today. They spend many times more on Viagra than they do on gender-affirming care.
If we don't have Viagra in the military, then who is going to take care of Pete Hegseth's whiskey dick? I mean, that's not how I want to serve my country.
Turns out the U.S. military spends 8 times more on Viagra than gender-affirming care. Over 37 million more, to be exact. And on top of that, replacing transgender troops could cost an estimated $960 million in recruiting and training, which ain't easy.
It's very physically intense. After going through a pretty extensive medical exam to even get into the military, going to basic training, it's a lot like what most people think it is.
It's like boot camp?
It's boot camp.
I did theater camp. It's tough. My tour of duty was South Pacific. Valley High's calling, Valley High. Is that how it went?
Yeah. All the trans people that are serving go above and beyond the standards, and they do their job every day.
But it's interesting to hear that we are too strong for sports, but too weak for the military.
Being too weak for both, I was curious why anyone would want to kick out these dedicated individuals.
If I'm in a foxhole, I don't want to know whether this guy next to me is wondering if he's a woman or a man or flipped back and forth.
Because everyone knows when you're fighting on the front lines, the real enemies are the preferred pronouns of the person next to you.
So I go by rank and last name. If someone uses a pronoun that I don't prefer, I really don't care. To me, it's a distraction. Like, my job is to fly the helicopter.
I'm curious what the reaction has been to you being trans in the military.
I received an outpouring of support when I came out.
They're my family and they have my back.
At the end of the day, all anybody cares about is whether I can perform my job when I have that uniform on.
Must be nice to have respectful coworkers. I work with this guy, Ronnie, who's a total dick. He's just a dick.
So if the people in the military itself don't care, then why did the administration impose an executive order stating this?
An adoption of a gender identity inconsistent with an individual's sex conflicts with a soldier's commitment to an honorable, truthful, and disciplined lifestyle.
I was named an honor graduate at basic training, so I would say, at least someone out there agrees that I have some honor and some discipline in me.
Would you leak war plans on Signal? Are you that disciplined?
I don't have any plans to do so.
Good to know.
If more people met trans people like us, then there would be no issue.
If the world's on fire, these are the folks I want in the foxhole. But would they want me?
Do you guys think I would be an asset in the U.S. military?
How many push-ups can you do?
It's sort of like jazz. It's all about the push-ups you don't do. And right now I'm not doing millions.
How fast can you run 2 miles?
Well, I can drive it in under 40 seconds.
Yeah, so I was at Fort Sill, Oklahoma for basic training. It was about 120 degrees Fahrenheit most days.
Yeah, that's not going to work for me. If I'm in the sun for more than 7 minutes, I get heat rash, just like that.
Have you ever tried an MRE?
Yeah, and they told me that it was just a little fracture in my foot.
I think that you're talking about MRI?
No.
MRE is a meal that's ready to eat.
Yeah, military shit.
While lawsuits are still pending and the fight's not over, I imagine these troops have lost the appetite to fight for a country that refuses to acknowledge they even exist.
President Trump is my commander-in-chief, and I will gladly answer the call if he calls me up to active duty.
America's my home. This is my country. This is, where I want to be and who I want to fight for.
I'm willing to serve. I'm able to serve, and I can get the job done.
I'd say come to the fleet, come to the field, come see what the thousands of transgender service members do every day in support of our nation's defense.
Sounds like patriotism to me, but what do I know? I didn't serve because of bone spurs.